Thank you for staying on News Desk. Now, information from Gambia, according to the BBC, indicates that more than $11 million is missing from the Gambia state coffers following the departure of longtime leader Yahya Jammeh. An advisor to President Adama Barrow has disclosed. Now, Mai Ahmad Fati, he said that financial experts were trying to evaluate the exact loss. Luxury cars and other items were reportedly loaded onto a Chadian cargo plane as Mr. Jammeh left the country after 22 years in power. Now, Mr. Jammeh has gone into exile. Unconfirmed reports from the BBC suggest Mr. Jammeh may be currently in Equatorial Guinea. And on Saturday, Mr. Jammeh, accompanied by Guinean president, left the shores of the Gambia, bringing to an end an otherwise seeming political tension which was simmering in that country. Now, this came after long hours of talks with him by regional leaders and the threat of military intervention. So what's more, a new dawn for the Gambia, and how is this new administration going to pick up from there? Well, before we delve into all that, let's do a recap of what transpired over the weekend. Well, I just brought you that recap with some details. Now, I'm joined in studio by the West African Regional Coordinator of ONEP, Mr. Francis Akwa Akins, for some analysis into this. Hello, sir, and thanks for your time. Now,
good morning.
Jammeh has finally left after a lot of regional persuasion. Now, was this expected?
Yes, of course. Well, it was first of all, it was an unfortunate situation that after he declared or he considered defeat, then he came back and said there were irregularities, or there were some issues around irregularity. So he thought that he could seek a review. And so, but we did not expect how long that process was going to take in terms of giving up, to accept the mediation effort of ECOWAS. But at least we are grateful and happy that he's left without any bloodshed. And of course, that's what we're looking for. But of course, we thought that it could be worse, knowing Jammeh's posture when it comes to issues like this.
Now, talking about that, what is your thought on how West African leaders handled this particular situation in the Gambia?
I think we must commend ECOWAS. A few times, yes, we had issues with how ECOWAS intervenes in situations like this. But this one, I think that they've been very proactive and very firm to address this issue without any civil or violent conflict between Jammeh and ECOWAS. And that's what we had hoped for. So we believe, for instance, in ONEP, that this kind of momentum that West African leaders, used or kept to let Jammeh go should also be applied in other areas, not just when there's a crisis like this, but also beginning to build or consolidate some of the democratic processes in West Africa.
Well, contrary to what many believe, Jammeh actually has a lot of supporters still in the Gambia. I mean,
yes.
If you've seen the video of him leaving, you saw people waving at him, people trying to shake his hand and all that. Is there a need for concern that even though Yahya Jammeh has left the country, he still has people who support him in there? And talking about that, we know that the president, Adama Barrow, is not in the Gambia yet. Is there any cause for worry?
Yes, I wouldn't say worry, but concern. Because, of course, for having ruled for 22 years, definitely he will have a lot of support, not just from the general Gambia, but also from his ethnic group, as we know. So it is expected. However, I think the first thing that Adama Barrow's government has to do is to form the government. And, it's a coalition. So they need to also settle some differences within to agree and form a government and immediately tackle what in one we have been analyzing. They will say that I think the reconciliation process should begin immediately his government is set up, because of the fact that Yahya Jammeh still has a lot of supporters. So there's a need to kind of show concern to all the people in the Gambia that this government is coming for everybody. And so there's the need to accept this new government, because if Yahya Jammeh still has a lot of supporters, there could be, okay, I'm going to sit down and watch. But they should rally everybody around, including the ethnic groups, the various ethnic groups, because of some tension or ethnic tension because of how Yahya Jammeh ruled the country. So they need immediately to tackle a reconciliation process to be able to build confidence among the various ethnic groups and groupings.
All right, so we are not privy to the agreement between Yahya Jammeh and those who held the mediation talks with him, but I mean, based on diplomacy, is it possible that he couldn't face any charges on human rights abuse and all that based on agreements? Can we say that, okay, we wouldn't allow you to face judgment for the things or the atrocities or the human rights abuses that you committed? That's based on agreement. In diplomatic circles, does it work that way?
Yeah, actually, well, I think I can talk about this because in the public domain, there's a joint declaration by ECOWAS, AU, and UN on this deal, at least some of the issues that Yahya Jammeh will not be prosecuted or will not be witch-hunted, and not just witch-hunted, but not just himself, but his family, immediate family, as well as his people or even his supporters, political party people and supporters as well. So it's very clear. And ECOWAS has called on the new government, that's Adama Barrow's coalition government, to respect this deal. And so, of course, the rationale or the reason behind this agreement is to ensure that, first of all, the new government has to consolidate or open up the space for political democratic culture for people to be able to participate fully. Because there could be the likelihood that the new government will go after Yahya Jammeh and his people. And we don't think that that is the right time to do. So it's very explicit in this joint declaration, which is the public domain. That's what I'm sharing with you. And the various deals are there. For instance, it says that ECOWAS and AU commend the goodwill and statesmanship of His Excellency former Yahya Jammeh, who is with the greater interest of the Gambian people in mind, and in order to preserve the peace, stability, and security of the Gambia and maintain its sovereignty, territorial integrity, and dignity of the Gambian people, has decided to facilitate an immediate, peaceful, and orderly transition process and transfer of power to Adama Barrow. I'm looking for where, so in order to avoid any recrimination, ECOWAS, the AU, and the UN commit to work with the government of Gambia on national reconciliation to cement social, cultural, and national cohesion. And of course, here on 7.7, it says that ECOWAS, the AU, and the UN urge the government of the Gambia to take all necessary measures to assure and ensure that there is no intimidation, harassment, and or witch hunting of former regime members and supporters in conformity with the Constitution and other laws of the Gambia. So this deal has been made. So Yahya Jammeh will feel a bit secure, because I think these were some of the issues that he was tabling, or for which probably he decided to do a U-turn.
Yes,
so
and many actually believe that it was because Adama Barrow had hinted that they were going to have some investigations, and that's why he rescinded his decision or his acceptance of the December 1 elections. But let's talk about the issue of the $11 million that's missing from the Gambian coffers. Now, you're talking about this agreement between the AU, ECOWAS, and the UN on how Yahya Jammeh and his family should be handled, I mean, in exile and all that. Is it possible, can he be called back to give account for those monies? I mean, what is the legal implication of all of this?
Well, I think, well, when the new government is set up, they have to do the various investigation and probably use the laws of the country to deal with that. Of course, it's an allegation, right? Actually, the information I got is that only $1 is left in the state coffers. So,
that's really
but we need to, as I said, Adama Barrow's government has to balance the situation, because they've agreed that we are not going to do witch hunting. But when there's a criminal issue as far as the state coffers is concerned, how do you deal with that?
Exactly.
So they have to look at their own laws and see how best they can address that, because the government needs to work. And so probably in the meantime, ECOWAS, AU, and international community need to come and support the government with funding to be able to tackle the immediate issues and at the appropriate time begin to do the investigation.
So in a case where their laws are in contradiction with this, which one has the high authority? Obviously, the Constitution.
Yes, of course, the Constitution and how it deals with such situation. Because are you going to call Yahya Jammeh back or any of his aides? So you need to balance it. You need to be very careful. Even though the deal is that no witch hunting and all that, but you need to weigh the situation. For us in one, we believe that there's the need to consolidate the democratic process, open up the space for people to be able to express themselves, the media and all that. So let's concentrate on how best we move the country forward. And then we can tackle some of the criminal issues in the short to medium term.
So as it stands now, Adama Barrow is still in Senegal. The former president, Jammeh, is out. I'm just wondering politically what the structure will be. But let's talk about what Adama Barrow will bring on board. I mean, he's now been given the go-ahead to govern the country. What are expectations?
Well, of course, there are high expectations. When he's able to finally go back to the country, he needs to find a way of communicating with the people to moderate their expectations. You know, there's the need to see how best the people can.
Why should the expectations be, you know, watered down, if that's the right expression?
Because
you want to manage it carefully. From how you're talking talking about managing the expectations.
Yes.
But these are people who've shown that they were tired of a leader who had governed for 22 years, and so they wanted change. So, as is expected, the expectations will be very high. But why should Adama Barrow look to watering down their expectations?
Well, he has to get the best people to communicate that, because you see, the people will be calling for the head of Jammeh, obviously. But there's also a deal with ECOWAS, AU, and UN, for which reason he accepted to go. So you need to communicate some of these issues strategically and ensure that people, it may be difficult for people to understand. Of course, it's not going to be easy to even moderate people's expectations, but you still have to find a way to continue the discussion, to broaden the engagement with the various stakeholders. So you have to target, for instance, the Bar Association, the various unions, and talk to their leaders and to communicate these processes to the people so that they will be able to understand the situation. I'm not sure that people would want Gambia to go back. And so President Adama Barrow has to be careful also how he does that. He needs to surround himself with people who have political understanding, also maturity, to be able to communicate that. He needs to engage every stakeholder in the country.
ECOWAS, the ECOWAS forces are still in the Gambia now. How long do you think they should stay? Do you think that Adama Barrow still needs the ECOWAS forces to be there?
Yeah, for now, yes. At least, of course, not for so long.
But for how long do you think they should
I cannot tell exactly, but they need to do the analysis of the situation. First, he has to get into the country because the military that was there, of course, was largely controlled by Jammeh. So they need to engage. He needs to engage with the chief of army staff and all that, and be able to be briefed on the preparedness of the army to sustain in the short to medium term, the stability of the country. And when they are sure that this is secure, then of course ECOWAS troops can withdraw. Yeah.
And I mean, quickly before you leave, the general actually relinquished his support for Jammeh, and he actually had clean hands. Do you think it's safe to still keep him there, or as it happens in other places, would see a military reshuffle?
Obviously, that would be expected. Surely there will be some kind of reshuffle, but whether he will go or not, we cannot tell. But of course, for now, the new president will need him to be able to brief him on all the security issues there. You cannot just get rid of him. You have to weigh the situation first. And then, as I said, Adama Barrow needs to be strategically positioned. He needs to position people strategically to advise him on some of these complexities so that the stability of the country will be secured sustainably. So.
All right, so you've just shared some of your thoughts with us, and really insightful on the Gambian situation here. And we've had an extensive coverage on it. We've spoken to some people in the Gambia, but we know that a lot of people left. Coming back, do you see troubles with resettlement or troubles with other people coming in who were originally not living in the Gambia?
Well, for now, those who had their homes and all that, they will go back to their homes. Obviously, they may have families. So it's also about creating a space for this. The government need to know these people who may not have homes and all that, who have lost everything, and see how best they can resettle them. Obviously, there's going to be, the reconciliation process could deal with some of these issues and address some of the human rights issues that may come up. So for now, let the people who were there, who left even over the weekend, return, and then also let the various institutions or processes be put in place to address all these issues.
Thank you very much, Francis Akwa Akins. You're with ONEP. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
And I'm sure we'll have you here more often to
Thank
discuss some of these things that happen in the
Sure.
sub-region.
Exactly.
But before you go,
Yes.
briefly, what would you grade, I mean, the performance of ECOWAS in this? I know you've spoken about it, but on a scale of 1 to 10, how has the ECOWAS performed?
On a scale of 1 to 10.
in the Gambian situation?
Let me give them 7.
7.
At least that's A, right?
Because?
So, because if I compare with the case of Cote d'Ivoire, I mean, saw what happened. It was not a good thing. So it's about when you take a decision, be firm about it and ensure that there's no bloodshed. So they need to keep this momentum and continue to support not just the Gambia, there's Togo, even Cote d'Ivoire is still in the news. So we need to consolidate some of these steps. It will be unfortunate that ECOWAS will relapse after these successes. We need to build up on that, learn the lessons, and then, and make sure that the various countries adhere to the protocols that have been put in place. So I think we'll go a long way to have a stable West African region.
Thank you, West African Regional Coordinator of ONEP, Francis Akwa Akins. Still to come, let's talk about the vetting that will take place today with some 4 ministerial nominees. And we'll start with Shirley Ayokoboche. She was born on February 8, 1963. And her hometown is Bawe in Accra. And she is a communication consultant that includes PR, journalism, and advertising. And that's her profession. She's a former Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister, former Minister of State at the Water Resources. And she also has an MA in Public Communication from the University of Westminster, and that was in 2002. An MBA Project Management, University of Ghana in 2004. She's the current MP for Anya Sotum, also Hajia Alima Mahama, and she's a local minister designate, local governance minister designate. She was born on November 17, 1957, and she's from Nalerugu in the northern region. She's a lawyer and development planner by profession, member of the GBA and the Ghana Institute of Planners. She attended St. Francis Girls Secondary School in Drapa for her O-level and went to the Wesley Girls High School for her A-level. She has a BA in Law and Sociology from the University of Ghana, and she's also a barrister at law from the Ghana Law School. She has an MA in Development Studies, that's Regional Planning, from the Institute of Social Studies in The Hague, Netherlands. And she's also a Pearson Fellow from the University of Ottawa, and also a Hubert Humphrey Fellow, and she did Urban Planning and Gender Studies from Rutgers University. She's the former Minister for Women and Children Affairs, and that was between 2005 and 2009. She's the current MP for Nalerugu. And Alan Kojo Tremanting, and he was born on October 3, 1955. He attended the Adisadel College in Cape Coast, and that was for his secondary education. And he went to a Chumota school for his 3rd form education. He went to the University of Ghana, Legon, for a bachelor's degree in economics. And well, you know that he's Trade and Industry Minister designate. He also holds a law degree from the Ghana School of Law. He's a member of the Ghana Bar Association and a Hubert Humphrey Fellow of the School of Management at the University of Minnesota in the USA. Now, he has a wide range of experience in the corporate world, and he was junior manager with Unilever Ghana at age 22. And in 1988, he got a UNDP appointment as the first regional director of Enterprise Africa. In 1990, Alan Tremanting was responsible for establishing and managing the Empretech program in Ghana. That's a leading business development program sponsored by the United Nations and Barclays Bank. Mr. Tremanting is a member of the Council of Governors of the British Executive Service overseas in the UK, and also a board member of other organizations in Ghana. In 1994, he was listed by the Time magazine as one of the 100 global leaders for the new millennium, alongside Bill Gates of Microsoft Corporation and John F. Kennedy Jr. And well, in diplomatic and political circles, he was appointed Ghana's ambassador to the USA in 2001 under the NPP. Now, he also served as a trade advisor at the UN Economic Commission for Africa in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Mr. Tremanting is a founding member of the NPP 7 on the National Executive Committee from 1992 to 2001. In 2003, Alan Tremontin was appointed as the cabinet minister with responsibility for trade, industry, and the president's special initiatives with additional responsibility for the private sector development fund. And in 2007, he contested the presidential primaries of the NPP but lost to Nana Akufo-Addo, and he was also Ghana's nominee for the post of Director General of the World Trade Organization in 2012 but did not make the final list. Now on to Energy Minister Designate Boakye Ejiakor. He was born in 1956 in the Ashanti region. He had his elementary school education at the KO Methodist Primary School in Ashanti New Town and the University of Science and Technology Primary School. He proceeded to Infantipum School in Cape Coast in 1969. In 1976, he entered the University of Ghana, Legon, where he earned a Bachelor of Arts in Economics and Political Science. From 1981 to 1984, he joined Management and Investment Consultants Limited, MAN Consult, as a junior economist. He holds an advanced professional certificate in banking from the American Institute of Banking and an MBA in financial economics from the Pace University, New York. He was vice president of the Bank of New York, where he also served in different capacities with different departments, including operations management and analysis, product development, global network management, international banking, and asset management. And he did that in his over 20 years working experience with the New York Bank. He is a member of the American Economic Association and an associate of the American Institute of Bankers. During the 2012 elections, he served as a national campaign manager of the New Patriotic Party and served as policy advisor for the president's 2016 electioneering campaign. He is also a consultant to Capital Economics and Investments, a startup economic analysis and investments group in Accra, Ghana. You're watching Joy News Desk. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you some analysis on the vetting that will take place today.